Hi everyone, welcome to October Tech Talk. I've just opened the room, as you probably know, so we're just going to have to wait a couple of minutes to give everybody a chance to enter the room, get themselves sorted out, and then we'll go through some housekeeping matters and we'll kick off the Tech Talk. Hi everyone, welcome. Just welcoming those who are entering the room now. We're just going to give it right up until 12:30 to give everyone a chance to enter the room. Hi Cheryl, good afternoon to you as well. Janelle in the Q&A, I can see your name when you enter a question anyway, so no need to enter it again. Now you can either use the chat facility or the Q&A you'll see in your control panel there. Either of those is fine. We'll go through those in just a minute. Okay, it's just turned 12:30. So again, welcome to everybody. Just a couple of housekeeping matters. As I just mentioned, we'd really welcome your comments and queries as we go throughout this Tech Talk today. So you can either use the Q&A facility or the chat facility. No need to type your name because that will come up with your comment or question. And then I'll share those questions with our presenter, Jack, as we go through. I think that's probably all we need to think about for this particular session. And therefore, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Jack Kay to you, who is the Head of Business Development from Practice Protect. And
Hi there. Oh,
Protect,
sorry.
No worries. I'll just give a little bit of background about what Practice Protect is all about, with over 700 accounting and bookkeeping businesses helping them to secure their businesses from a cyber perspective. Jack's worked in Australia, New Zealand, UK and US, and he's seen the best and the worst when it comes to cloud security. And he's really keen to share some of those learnings with you today, and indeed how Practice Protect may be able to help out. So thanks and welcome along, Jack. Over to you.
No, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it, Rochelle. It's great to be here. And hello to everyone on the webinar today. As Rochelle mentioned before, the less of a presentation we can make this, and more of a conversation, I think the better we're all going to be off. So feel free to pop questions in the chats, in the Q&A, wherever you'd like. Any comments that you might have, because the more interactive we can make this, the more we all learn. So thank you again, and please keep that in mind. What we'd really like to discuss today and show you today, just some really quick practical things that you can do today to secure your business with or without Practice Protect. Understand how firms are getting breached and the software programs and the things that people are doing that are causing breaches, and then of course when it comes to what we do here and how we help accounting firms. Before I sort of go on, does anyone who's here today have any specific questions, or is there any reason why you actually registered for this webinar today? Because we'd love to get those answered. So if you would mind popping that in the chat, that'd be great. And in the interim, I'll just start with a little bit about why this is really important. So, as you may know, the mandatory breach reporting legislation came out 22nd of February 2018. So it's been about a year and a half since this came about. I'm sure you're all good enough right now and you've seen this enough to actually be able to give seminars on this. I've no doubts about it. But to give you just a really high-level overview, if there is a breach into your systems that may have released any confidential information, you must report that through to your clients, through the government, or you may risk up to a $1.8 million fine, and realistically the breakdown of your business, because reputational damage, etc., because you do need to actually advertise. An example would be if there's an email breach into your systems, and as clients send you some strange and wonderful things sometimes, same as prospects, same as vendors. If anyone unauthorized sees that, that's a breach. You must let everyone know. So all vendors, ex-clients, clients, etc. So what I want to start with is just a bit of a tip on how you can be a hacker in under 5 minutes for free. So it's quite important to think about this because I think there's a big misconception out there that it's some crazy hyper intelligent person sitting in a dark room somewhere drinking coke, going nuts and really targeting you. But that's not really the case. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to actually perform these kind of breaches. It just takes someone in need or someone who's a bit bored. It's not the Russian government to worry about. It's Kyle, your next door neighbor who wants to earn a few bucks or wants to have a bit of fun and play around with IT. So I'll show you how it's done, or one of the main ways that hacking is actually occurring. So the first thing you need to do is get a password bot. Now, a password bot is a piece of technology that scours the internet looking for a username and password field. So this is something that, for example, your Gmail, your Office 365, it'll go to that website, lock it in, and inject a username and a set of passwords until it actually cracks through. Now, the first step to getting this, and let's just be quiet for a minute, is like, okay, I need a password bot. So what's the best passwords cracker available? Let's go through here. Brutus looks like the best one. 10 most popular. Let's have a look. So we've got a few listed here, but let's go with Brutus. It's number one. So we'll go download Brutus password cracker, and we don't want to pay for it, so let's go free. Here we go. Download, free download. 3.5 stars, so you know it's good. Hit the download button, and there's your platform. There's your hacking software. The next thing we need to do is get some email lists. So the first thing we can do with that is, there's emails that you might receive that say, hey, would you like to buy this marketing list of clients of your competitors? The first thing you can do is reply back with, yes, please. And they'll send you the list. You might pay $5-10 for it. Or you might go free marketing list download if you've got 5 minutes to spare. Scour the internet until you find, have a look at these question things until you find a list that you can download. And there's your email addresses. Now, the next thing you need are the passwords. So let's go with a password list. So we'll go in here. We've got a list of 1 million here. Or is that 10 million? 10 million passwords, and then you're good to go. So you've got your password bot. You've got your email list, or you can pick someone that you know. If you were looking to target someone specifically, upload the passwords, and you're good to go. More than 80% of all passwords are actually for sale online at the moment. Now, I say this not to say, hey, please be a hacker. It's a really good career choice, because it's really not. But this is how easy it actually is to get inside the infrastructure and inside the IT systems within your business. And that's why it's really important to put some simple preventative measures in place to ensure that you don't fall victim to this. That something so simple can actually cause a breach, because once again, those password bots are the way in, the way forward, really. Now, before I go on, are there any questions that we might have around that? Rochelle, do you have any questions or comment?
Jack, we do have one general one from Janelle so far. Mm-hmm. She's working with another firm who uses Practice Protect. Mm-hmm. So she's a user within their own portal. Mm-hmm. And she was wondering whether there's any conflicts should she sign up for her own clients in her own bookkeeping practice.
No, not at all, Janelle. Not in the slightest. Realistically, what you're doing is you're controlling your sphere of influence. Them having Practice Protect doesn't secure you or their clients realistically. So I would do whatever you can to make sure that you're secure. And I'm sure that the other firm and your clients would appreciate it as well. So yeah, no conflicts, I would say. Do you reckon that answers the question? Janelle, does that answer your question? Feel free to put a little yes in there, if that's okay. But I'll assume it's a yes.
I think so, Jack. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. So what's actually being taken? Now, what actually happens? So now let's just see what happens. So basically what happens is they'll get into your email inbox, and the first thing they'll do is they will actually export everything out of the email inbox and put it somewhere else. So people often say, hey, yeah, so I just got an email breach. No information has been taken. It's totally okay. You're safe. It's not the case, because they'll take all the contact lists. They'll take all of all the email history. And what they'll typically do is, those emails that you get sent that are like, hey, click on this. We've all received them. I've gotten a few over the last couple of days from Dropbox or from Office 365 or a proposal. Now, they'll actually take a list of everyone who clicks on those links, and they will then look through the emails that they've exported and build profiles around those clients, or those prospects or those vendors, and then retarget them with information specific to them that they may have sent you via the emails. And so that's what's called building a susceptibility report. Which is kind of concerning. The most information is getting taken actually. So of the breaches that occurred over the last little while, the OAIC has a cool website called ScamWatch, and we've pulled these from there. So of the last X amount of breaches, are at 350, 216 breaches were actually the taking of contact information to repurpose as marketing lists, and also to once again, retarget. Financial details, identity information, health information, TFNs fall far behind. So this is actually what they're taking. And the good thing is it's actually not that hard for you to secure your business right now with what you've got. By far, the highest ranking scam is actually the telephone scam. So what they'll do is they'll jump in, they'll send out the link, someone will click on it, they'll build a profile, and they'll retarget with a phone call saying, "Hey, we're from the ATO. We realized you submitted a return for X amount of dollars." They'll know because they've sent an email correspondence about it. You need to pay this much money to us, and so they'll give them a separate bank account to pay the money into. Otherwise, they'll be fined or go to jail or something like that. And the client or prospect or vendor will believe them because of the information that's existing within your email accounts. This does extend much beyond the email accounts and go into various other applications you might be using, like Dropbox, Box, etc. But so it's just something to be concerned about. So, Linda, you mentioned, just asked a question. Some organizations ask you for ID, such as driver's license, etc. Do you recommend we stop sending this type of information? I recommend that you have a look at the way. Great question, Linda. I would suggest that what you want to do is actually find a safe way to do so. You don't want to use your inbox as a storage device or a storage system. If you do receive an email such as this, you would want to export that information and store it in a separate and secure location that does have adequate protection. There are other ways that you can get it as well, but no. So you do need ID, but think about the way that you want to ask them how they're storing that information. And if you're taking it from your clients, think about how you're storing the information, if that all makes sense. Rochelle, do you think that answers the question okay?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I'd probably just add that if people are asking you for a form of identification, any identification, that if they don't have secure means by which for you to do that, you should probably be asking questions about that organisation's processes anyway.
Agreed. So we've heard some horror stories about financial planners asking for some really obscure personal information to their clients and asking it via email. But if you want to process a loan or do something like that, usually there's a secure client portal they can be accessing. So very good point there, Rochelle, as well. Yeah. Cool. So some things that you can do right now. So with those password bots that I mentioned before, a 7-character password will take just shy of a second to hack through. A 16-character password will take just shy of 74 million years. So it's a bit of a disparity there. So you want to have a look at what you want to do is make a list of all of your core applications, your email, Xero, your accounting systems, whatever, the important things, and make sure you've got long, complex passwords for each of those. Now, the way you would be able to manage that is through something called a passphrase. So you've got password, they're gone. Now it's the age of the passphrase. So you'd want to have those core applications and make something lame and cheesy associated with that. For example, for your emails, I talk to my clients, or for your Xero, I like the color blue. Or for Facebook, I don't like to talk to people. Like you can sort of make this really cheesy, lame passphrases and associate it with that various applications. Now, there are often special, that's not going to really keep you super secure though. What you want to do is just create your own alphabet. So you might interchange the letter A whenever you might use it with an exclamation mark, or the letter D with an @ symbol. Just 3 or 4 symbols across the board that appear in all your passwords, just to make them secure and so they're not long. And so they are long, complex, but you've got a consistent way of changing a couple of the letters, so you will remember it. And you're going to exponentially increase the level of security around your applications and around your business. Secondly, you've got your data in your inbox. Once again, your inbox is not a data storage system. And if someone gets access to your inbox, they've got everything, but if there's nothing in there, that's not technically a breach. So the mandatory breach reporting legislation says that you must report it to the government and to the clients if anyone gets access to unauthorized information. If there's no information in there, you don't need to report it. So what we find many firms doing is exporting their email inbox storing it in a separate location, such as a Dropbox, a box, a NAS drive, or something similar to that, another secure location, external to the inbox. The number one and number two most breached applications in the world are, first of all, Office 365, and secondly, Gmail. So by adding an extra step, you're going to secure yourself a lot more effectively. Third, you can go into the control panel and set it up so that your downloads folder deletes on a regular basis. Being in a cloud-based industry, everything you click on is saved automatically to your computer. I remember I was at a conference a little while ago, and I was speaking to a lady there, and I was talking about this fact, and she turns around to me and was like, I can't delete my downloads folders. It's a goldmine. It's like, well, you know what? Actually, that's pretty true, and it's exactly why you should delete it. Implement the right policies to store that gold somewhere more effectively and more secure, because if someone gets into your computer, they're going to get everything. Next, remove save passwords from your browser. So I'll show you here actually. So now some of you may be familiar as to what happens here, but when a little pop-up appears saying, would you like to save the password? What'll happen is if you go into the settings here on Google Chrome, go into passwords, you can actually see a list of all of the saved passwords here. If I hit the I button, that'll show the password. If I click these little three dots, I can export these passwords into an Excel document. Now, that's quite scary because if there is a breach into your systems, obviously it's the first place they're going to go. If you do have adequate IT, or you do have the right systems in place, oftentimes it'll appear saying, you need to put in your password first. First of all, a brute force bot will be able to get through that password pretty quickly if they're already in your computer. Or B is actually a local setting. So that setting to show the passwords only specific to the device that you're using. So if you went into someone else's computer or another laptop or anything like that, or another phone, and you put in your Google Chrome, or you log into Google Chrome, it'll actually export and store those passwords anywhere that you log into. If you log into YouTube or any of those applications, it's going to automatically log you into the Google Chrome, and it's going to automatically port your passwords across. So what you want to do is actually turn off these offer to save passwords. It's not about not trusting yourself. It's not about not trusting your team. It's about just making it harder to actually, apologies for that, making it harder to actually, make these silly little mistakes that people do make sometimes. These are actually, when I first signed up to here, I started with Practice Protect. These are actually all my old real passwords. I've changed them all now and deleted them now, but I've kept them in here because I know that I actually was very bad at this initially, before obviously, I started using Practice Protect and started doing the right things. So you're not alone by any stretch of the imagination. Cool. And finally, what you need to do is really implement some policies and understand what your requirements are. So, if you've got a team, if they don't know, they won't do it. We often get, we have firms that get breached, and they'll call us up and they'll say to us, hey, listen, I've been breached. Like what happens? Like, oh, Sharon on reception, she did something silly. And then all of a sudden, it's been a breach. I'll just turn around and be like, hey, so I'm really sorry to hear that. But, so what training did you provide Sharon to make sure that we were secure? What policies do you have in place? Do you even know what your own expectations are? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no to the policies and no to the training. So you need to get on paper everything that you want to happen in your business. So no saving passwords, passphrases on applications, no, logging in from strange and wonderful locations, no sharing your password, no writing your password down on a sticky note or in a book. Having it down on paper and just, for your own use, getting your team sign off on it or training your team around why it's important. Because once again, if people don't know, they won't do it. Cool. So we've got do we have any other questions? I believe we've got a question there, Rochelle. Is that right? Okay, I'll answer. So, just a moment. So, Janelle,
Sorry, Jack, I just lost my unmute.
Oh, okay, no dramas.
Um, yeah, Janelle wanted to know if she's got to use extra security when saving passwords, for example, biometrics. Does that help at all? Or I guess two-factor authentication might be another example.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely helps. It makes a bit of a difference. But there's always ways in through the back end. You can turn off multi-factor, you can turn off biometrics by answering security questions often, which is often very generic questions with information you can find by building a social profile around someone. So it's not foolproof, but anything you can do to make your stuff more secure, I would 100% recommend doing it. It does help, yes. But the one thing to remember is that the industry does change, the cybersecurity industry, and it does evolve. So you need to be up to date with everything that's happening. Make sure you're across any changes that are occurring, and just be aware that no matter what you do, you can never be 100% secure. Does it answer the question? All okay?
I think that was a pretty good job, thanks. We've
Perfect.
got one from Vivian who's using the password manager LastPass.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a safe option?
I mean, it's better than nothing. We do something a bit similar to LastPass, but differently. So when it comes to LastPass, the way that you can't, it's the way that you set it up, if that makes sense. So you need to make sure that you can't see passwords, that you've got different restrictions on there. You can't share passwords with the team. There's automatic login, log outs when you go to new computers, new browsers, which oftentimes is not often the case. So understand what your requirements are and what you're hoping to get out of LastPass or any password manager that you may be using, and make sure that all the boxes are ticked. Because as a standard, it can be quite insecure, but it is much better than using nothing at all, in my very humble opinion.
Thanks, Jack.
That's okay. Live to serve. So, alrighty. Well, maybe a good place to go from here, Rochelle, if you would. Oh, we've got a couple more. Oh, no. So it would maybe just to show through what we do here at Practice Protect to help out with some of these things. Would that make the most sense to you, or what do you reckon?
Nice. I think that sounds fantastic. Great to see a secure solution.
Yeah, great. And I suppose from your perspective, Rochelle, before we jump into that, do you have any questions, or do you receive any questions from any accountants out there about security that we might be able to answer on a call here? Not to put you on the spot or anything, but does anything jump to mind that we haven't covered already, by any chance?
Oh, no, probably just a humorous comment that I started using 1Password a few years ago. And the big thing with 1Password is you've actually got to remember that 1Password.
Yeah, yeah. It's a hard
That was
life.
my big learning.
Yeah, it definitely helps. It definitely helps. Alrighties. Well,
But no questions at this point.
All right, beautiful. If you think of anything, interrupt me, please. I also get sick of my own voice, so I consider it a favor. So how we work is, so you'll come along and you'll log into a portal. So it'd be myfirm.my.centrify.com, and this is where it kind of does duplicate, say, 1Pass, LastPass, things like this. So you put in your username and you go and hit next. So I've just paused my screen. Next. Password. So you pop in your password there. So the first line of defense of what we do is you've got a two-phase login. So username on one page, password on the other. And essentially what that enables is those password bots are often rendered ineffective because they look for things with username and password on the same page. By breaking it out, it stops most bots, about 99% of bots from getting through to this point. So you pop in your password, and you log through. So then what you've got is you've got a secure homepage with all your different applications here. Now, what we do in the background is go through a process of resetting all of your passwords so that you don't know any of your passwords, or your team don't know their passwords. And the only way to access it is through Practice Protect. So you log in, say, click on 0, and it'll port you through directly to 0, and there's no need to actually input your password. And that's all. And then the passwords that are on there are 16 characters long and fully secure. what we also do, it's a bit different than say some of the other providers like that, is we actually do something called federation and something called SAML. So with most core business applications like email, like Gmail or Office 365, things like Dropbox Box, we actually integrate in with those applications and remove the passwords altogether. So it just creates like an ecosystem. And more of the applications are doing that now, accounting applications. So this basically becomes the desktop. You log into one thing and there's no longer any passwords. Does that all kind of make sense at this point? Michelle, all making
Yeah, that's
sense?
pretty good. Thanks, Jack.
No dramas. In the back end as well, so there's quite a bit more. So what it actually enables you to do is, so we'll go into a user profile here. Everyone has their own user profile to log into. Now, everyone has their own apps as well. Now, if someone were to leave the business, you hit locked, and they're going to be locked out of all applications straight away. And because no one will know their passwords, it just completely restricts all of that. And in addition to that, there are 4 key restrictions. So for people, you can turn on something called an IP restriction, which means that you can lock down your account to a physical location with a static IP address or a physical office, which means that even if you let a bomb your username and password across the city, they won't be able to access it unless they're on your computer or in your office. Secondly, you've got geofencing. So some people need to travel around quite a bit, so locking down to a specific location won't work. You've got geofencing, which means you'll lock out other countries. Most hacks do happen overseas after hours. So what this means is that you can stop anyone from, say, Uzbekistan getting into your profile at night time. So you completely lock that down. And then finally, leading on from that point, is you've got time restrictions. So between the hours of, say, 10 p.m. at night and 6 a.m. in the morning, you might lock it down completely so that no one's able to access any of your applications at all, unless you give them permission to. Does that all make sense? Or if not, just please pop in a question. You've got full audit trails of where things are getting logged into in the event of a proximity breach. So what happens with OAIC now is that one of your clients, whether they get a breach into one of your accounting applications or their accounting applications, they're going to have a look at anyone that may have been involved in that. So they'll come and ask you some questions. And you'll need to actually prove, let's just use a bank account. So their bank account's being breached. Now, what they may do is talk to the client, and they'll say, oh, my accountant's got my details. So they'll come and have a chat with you and ask what you're doing around the security. And you can say to them, hey, well, the breach occurred yesterday. If you pull up my audit trail here, no one knows their passwords. No one on my team, or I have not accessed that bank account because I've got a full independent audit trail here, specific with where exactly I've been accessing applications from. If I pull up a report, I can see that I haven't accessed that bank in 3 weeks, and I did it from this location. So it just helps with that level of security. You can also, we actually integrate in with mobile devices. So, it means that you can remote wipe that device if it gets lost or stolen. If your device gets lost or stolen and you've got any work emails on there or any text messages associated with personal information from a client, you will need to report that through the government to any clients who may have texted you, anything like that, or once again face that fine. Now, if you can actually prove to the government as well that you've taken necessary steps to protect the data after the breach, once again, you won't have to report it and you won't get fined. So by saying my phone was stolen, however, I've remote wiped that device, this has occurred though, you're in the clear. It helps with all of that. Cool. One final thing is that you've got a full map of if anyone's trying to access your system or geolocations, you've got a full map of where you are and where people are accessing your data from. I'm actually here in Brisbane, but so it's just demo account just to clarify. But you can also see if any people are trying to log in, where they're logging in from, etc. Cool. Does that all make sense?
So, Jack, many of the people on the Tech Talk today will actually be in practice themselves with multiple clients.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess a couple of things on that. Do I have one portal as an agent, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
to manage all of my clients in one spot? Or is it each and every client has their own portal?
Great question. It's just you. So what you'll do is you'll log into your portal and then you'll have all your applications in here. Now let's just say you've got several different banking applications for each different clients. You've got client A, you've got Commonwealth Bank client A, Commonwealth Bank client B, Commonwealth Bank client C. And so you can actually put all of your different client credentials inside your portal. So it's about protecting everything that you interact with, essentially.
I've got 10 clients with Bank West.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one Bankwest icon and I select which account I'm logging into. How does that work?
There's a couple of different ways you can do it. We've got this categorized like accounting, banking, but you can actually categorize these by client. So, uh, uh, Rochelle's accounting, or, Jack's bank, so you get like different clients like here. And then under each client name, you can have all their applications or logins that you'd have for that client. So
Okay.
they have their own Bankwest, or you can separate out like this, accounting and banking, and then you'd have a different tile for each individual client there.
Yep. So I could have client A and then have their software access as tiles, as well as their bank, all separated out.
Correct. That's right.
Okay. And do you have a partner program, Jack?
We do a partner program. So essentially, if any of say if someone were to refer a client into what we're doing here, we actually pay 12% of all the revenue to the accountant or bookkeeper ongoing. So we do also provide for free business security consultations. So if any of our clients have any clients that are doing some dodgy things, need some assistance, we'll actually do a meeting with them and provide them recommendations of things that they can do to secure their business and some advice on how they can be setting up correctly. So yes, we do have a partner program.
And how much are the practitioners paying to have a subscription? And is there a limit on the number of clients I can therefore add?
Great questions. So before I get into all of that, I'll just show you a couple more things if that's all right.
Sure.
But long story short, it's $12 a user per month, thereabouts. And there is a minimum of 3 users. So it's like, yeah, so it's not breaking the bank realistically, and you can have an unlimited number of applications and logins inside your systems as well. What you'll also receive is a full policy document set. So basically, you've got a data breach response plan, the engagement letter update. So data breach response plan is if there is a breach, what are you going to do about it? So we'll give you a template to assist in thinking about, if I do have an email breach, who do I contact? What do I do? What are the next steps? In the engagement letter updates, what it will enable you to do is actually say to your clients, hey, I'm doing this for my security. These are the precautions that I've done. And many of our firms are actually using this for marketing purposes, actually saying to differentiate themselves from competition, being like, hey, listen, we're secure. Janet down the road isn't. Here's what we're doing about it. There's employee IT and cyber usage policies as well. So this is, if you do have team, you can actually get like a physical sign off that they will sign on saying what they will and will not do with your data to make them liable around all of this. And third-party systems access agreements. So if anyone needs to access your data, contractors, IT providers, or say us, it makes us once again liable and understand what your requirements are and what our expectations are when we are accessing your data. And there's this general privacy policy template. Yeah, that's kind of how that all works. So I know that you've got your own insurer here, but so you would offer a better deal. We're actually starting to work with them as well. But an example would be, there are some ways to just get discounts on your insurance. We do provide weekly CPD training as well around cybersecurity to make sure that you're understanding the holistic ramifications of, different things like phishing scams, etc. And also, you do get access to the partner program by going through this training platform as well. We'll give you a certificate and we'll give you a logo that you can put on your website and your email signature as well. I'm sure many of you have seen it come up before. So once again, with that insurance policy, I know for a fact that you guys already get a really good deal, so ignore that element. It's the other ones here. So yeah, that's how we do and what we provide. Is that all sounding okay? Rochelle, do you have any questions around any of that as well?
Helen was wondering whether there's any reason you can't use it, for your own personal use as a sole trader.
No, not at all. I've got all my personal stuff in there for sure. Makes my life a lot easier. So no, there is no reason.
Janelle's liking to use her Samsung tablet to triage her emails. Can Practice Protect be set up on a tablet as well?
Yeah, it can. So there's, I don't have a camera on, it's been disabled here. So I'll show you, there's an app that you download that has all your apps inside of it, and also acts as an authenticator as well. And it can enroll those devices. So if it gets lost or stolen, it does get remote wiped as well. So yes, absolutely, it does provide protection against a lot of that. I'm curious as to what you mean by triage, though, if you wouldn't mind, just to make sure I'm answering your question correctly, or if I've answered it correctly, please just let me know.
Just while Janelle's having an opportunity to respond to that, you mentioned that it's $12 per user per month. So does that refer to, in my bookkeeping practice, say I've got myself and 2 other employees, those are the users, and we can have an unlimited number of clients within that user package, is that correct?
So basically how it works is you've got your login license, and so you log in, and then it's controlling all of your applications. So it doesn't give a license to your clients to log into. What it does is it just secures your access points through to your client's data. So any logins that you control, so you can have 150 logins to 150 different bank accounts for 150 different clients inside your Practice Protect. That wouldn't be an issue, but it wouldn't enable them to actually log in to their bank. They would need to sign up with their own Practice Protect license, essentially.
Yep. So, but my team members can be users within my portal. Is that correct?
Correct. That's correct. So yeah, so your business would have its own, your business.mycentrify.com, and each person would log into their own individual portals. So we'd build a portal for each team member with different security around it and different applications around it. We wouldn't recommend sharing it, but you can put your applications inside your team members' accounts.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So Janelle's come back and she's indicated that she uses Carbon for practice management.
Nice.
And that when emails come in, and in brackets to triage, they get assigned to tasks, work, etc., and then cleared.
Yeah.
This actually removes them from the inbox.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. That's exactly what you want to do. And then you want to see how we work with Carbon as well, so to make sure that's nice and secure and good for the storage. But yeah, definitely, Carbon's a really good way to go about that exporting of the emails to your inbox piece. So if you have the Carbon app and you go in there and you move the emails around and add everything and change everything, just make sure that the app's secure. You've got a secure password on it and you're good to go. And just to answer Linda, so yep, that's 100% correct. So you would need to sign up for a 3-user package as a minimum. However, I guess it's all about what level. It's a bit different to say, like the per user item. So it costs about so $36 a month to go ahead and use the platform. It's kind of taking away the per user. You just get access to three users. The cost and all of that is actually in the tenancy itself and the setup itself. So whilst you get 3 users, I wouldn't actually classify it necessarily as a 3-user package. It's just a portal that enables 3 people to log into it, if that kind of makes sense. But yes, long story short, Linda, 3 is minimum. No dramas. Happy to help. Any other questions, feedback? We've zoomed through this actually, which is always pleasant. Rochelle, what I can give to you as well, if you would like, is so I've got this information. So we've got a series of a white paper basically that walks through the steps of how to actually implement these things. So remove, save passwords, clear your computer downloads folder, delete sensitive emails, etc. I can give that to you to distribute out to everyone on the webinar today, if you'd like, which is a nice little practical guide of how they can secure their business today.
Thanks, Jack. I'm sure that would be very appreciated. And we actually always send out the recording to this webinar along with any additional information post. So that would be a great inclusion. Thank you.
Live to serve, no dramas whatsoever. Are there any other questions, thoughts, feedback, conspiracies that we might be able to help out with whilst we're here? To anyone on the call?
Nothing's showing at the moment. I'll just give it, say, another 30 seconds to see if anything comes through. But I'm sure, Jack, that if members had any questions post the event, we would be happy for them to email those through to membership, singular, membership@aat.org.au, and we can ensure that those are fielded by Jack.
Awesome. Or feel free to reach out directly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. My name is Jack Kay, jack.k@practiceprotectonline.com. But yeah, feel free to go through membership, as I'm sure you've already got the email saved, and we can just go from there.
Excellent. Well, it doesn't look like we're having any more questions flow through, Jack. I really wanted to thank you on behalf of AET for spending your time with us today. It's a really fabulous looking product and so wonderfully simple to use, whilst bringing such, amazing protection to a really complicated area of our practice management. So thanks.
No dramas whatsoever. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Okay, well, we might wrap up today's Tech Talks. Thank you for coming along, to all the attendees as well. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and for all of you coming to the road shows over the next fortnight, I'll see you in your hometowns. Cheers.